Hi, how's it going? My name is Michael Bantine. This is my presentation for anatomical kinesiology, and today we're going to be walking through the three-point shot. There are a few fundamentals that are key for making this movement with proper technique. We'll walk through that and then we'll get more specific as we go. Firstly, the stance phase. So to start, we want to make sure that our feet are about shoulder width apart, and that we're also in a good athletic stance. So preferably with the weight in the balls of our feet. Ensuring that our knees are pointed towards the basket is imperative, especially with that on the side of the shooting arm. As we receive the ball or pick it up from a dribble, it should land in front of our body around the umbilicus level. So let me scroll down here. Hand and arm placement is also important when it comes to catching the basketball in what is known as triple threat. The shooting hand should be behind the ball with the wrist extended and the index and middle fingers lining up with the midline of the ball. So from the back, that's going to kind of look like this. So some coaches emphasize the importance of using just your fingertips in your shot, but as long as they're guiding the movement, that's totally fine. So it's fine to put the palm on the ball. What you want to avoid though with that is sometimes people will push up with the palm rather than their fingertips, and that's going to give you a flat shot. So make sure to avoid that. Make sure your fingertips are guiding the motion. This should all be synchronized, one smooth motion with a wrist flicking at the top of the jump. The non-shooting hand should be directly on the side of the ball. You don't want it kind of coming in the side. That's going to throw off the aim of your shot. You want it directly on the side with your fingers pointing anteriorly and just kind of staying on the side here. Let's see, scroll down just a bit. Okay, so this wrist angle is really important. We want that directly on the side, so that means it's going to be pronated to about 90 degrees. The foreign fingers, again, pointing anteriorly. So now that we have our upper body set and we're in our stance phase, we can begin the preparatory phase of the movement. With the hips beginning bent, like we talked about before with the athletic stance, we should drop down or sit down in our shot. This small drop is considered the preparatory phase, and it's important for activating the stretch shortening cycle, helping us get the most out of our jump. Another thing that's often seen is a lot of times if you're not sitting down, then your arms are pushing the shot up rather than it being a jump shot with your legs. So make sure that you're utilizing your legs sitting down, and it's also going to help your shot go up rather than going forward. Okay, next, after this slight descent, we should rise up out of our squat, and this will begin the motion with the upper and lower body. Assuming our stance is set up correctly, our upper body should only need to bring this elbow up. The forearm of the shooting hand will extend before and after the top of the trajectory. The rest of the shooting hand shares an experience of a flick. It's also important to ensure that the knee, elbow, wrist, and eyes all look towards the basket during your shot. Okay, let's see. So that's going to be all these moments going up and then releasing at the top. Okay. So the follow through of this motion involves just a follow through with the arms that shot the ball returning down to the side of the feet carefully. So just to kind of demonstrate that, it's going to go here, letting your arms fall down. Your lower body is also going to catch yourself eccentrically, and that we'll go into more detail about that soon. So the recovery stance, you want to make sure that you land on 2 feet carefully, and from there, if you're a well-trained player, that means you're ready for a potential miss, and you're going after that offensive rebound. So that'll be kind of your recovery phase. Okay. So to cover some more of the specific anatomical details of this movement, in order to even reach the stance phase of this movement, the body must supinate the shooting hand, extend the wrist while keeping the elbow close to the body and the shoulder adducted. The knees and the hips must flex in order to even get to this 90-90 position or athletic stance. And since the feet are shoulder width apart, this involves a slight bit of knee abduction as well. The neck and back should remain neutral, and so that's going to involve some isometric contractions, which we'll go over soon. Not to neglect the ankles, since balancing on your feet, they will be slightly plantar flexed, balancing on the anterior or middle part of the foot. Several muscles, have eccentric contractions during the initial part of this movement, as well as some isometrics. These muscles include the iliopsoas, the quadriceps, and gluteus maximus. Isometric contractions are required through the core and through certain hip stabilizers, as well as in the lower leg stabilizers, to maintain this stance position. In order to reach the plantar flex state, the plantar flexors must produce concentric contractions. So After gravity has allowed the body to drop and has utilized this stretch shortening cycle, the agonists of this movement involve hip extension and plantar flexion in the lower body. I think I also need to mention the knee flexion that occurs here. Although no, that's not correct. I wrote that down incorrectly. It should be knee extension as well. So the torso should continue to provide strong dynamic isometric contractions throughout the movement in order to provide stability for the spine. So that way the forces generated in the legs travel upward during the shot. The guide hand should remain on the side of the ball up until the point of release. And this is going to involve this pronated wrist and abducted elbow. It should remain close to the body as the shoulders flex the arms overhead. So some of the muscles that contribute to this upper body action are the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres major, and subscapularis, all acting concentrically to flex via the shoulder. This flexion is also seen on the shooting arm, the only difference being that the extended wrist that's behind the ball tucks itself under the ball to shoot the ball upwards. Make sure that's a really important key. A lot of times I see young players starting with the ball right here, and that's just going to involve a shoving rather than a shot. You want to push that ball upwards. Let's see. At the top of the trajectory, you want to make sure that you have wrist flexion that occurs, as well as the fingers on the shooting hand experiencing flexion as well. So a good strong follow through. Steph Curry is a great example of this. The recovery phase, like we kind of discussed before, involves the arms falling down to the side of the body. So without the ball, I'm here, I shoot, I allow these to recover. That's part of our recovery phase. Another thing to note is that our plantar flexors must act eccentrically to land softly on the ground. The hips return to a flexed position as gravity brings the body closer to the ground and the athlete recovers. This means the extensor groups and then such as the quadriceps, gluteus max, must act eccentrically also. In terms of the wrist flexion that's occurring on the shooting hand, we want to think about the group of flexor muscles acting eccentrically in the wrist, as well as the pronator teres allowing for each degree of pronation. When it comes down to elbow extension, the main contributor to that movement would be triceps brachii. All right, thank you so much for your time.